فقال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم في السورة الأنعام بسم الله ولكل درجة مما عملوا وما ربك بغافل عما يعملون وصدق الله العظيم. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الكريم ونفعني وإياكم بالذكر الحكيم إنه هو جواد الرؤوف الرحيم. الآن حج الترجمة. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan, from Shaitan, the accursed devil. In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate. All praise is due to Allah. I seek His help and beg His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the mischief and the evils of our souls. Whomsoever Allah guides, there is none who can lead that person astray. And whomsoever Allah finds in error, there is none to guide them. I bear witness that there is no God, no deity worthy of worship, except Almighty Allah. Glory be to Him, who is one, alone, and unique, without partner or associate. Turn off your phone, whatever phone that is ringing. I bear witness that there is no God, no deity worthy of worship except Almighty Allah. Glory be to Him. And I bear witness further that Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is Allah's servant, messenger, and apostle. And He, Allah, has sent His messenger in truth and with the truth, as a bearer of glad tidings and also as a warner in advance of the hour of judgment. And therefore, whomsoever obeys Allah and His messenger, surely that person is rightly guided, and whomsoever disobeys the two of them, surely that person harms only his or her own soul, and harm not Allah the least little bit, as for what follows. For Allah, glory be to Him, has said in the Quran, all will be rewarded by degrees according to their deeds. And your Rabb, your Lord, is not unaware of what they do. And further, Allah says, وَرَبُّكَ الْغَنِّي ذُو الرَّحْمَةِ, and your Lord is self-sufficient and the Lord of mercy. And surely Allah, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, glorified and exalted be He, has spoken the truth. O you who worship Allah, as we seek to be vigilant over matters of religious life, to upgrade continuously the ways that we live that life, it is critically important, especially for you brothers, for you Muslim men, to recognize and to understand without compromise without excuse that the way that you treat our women is part and parcel of this religious way of life. And the good treatment of women, respectful treatment of women, kind treatment of women, and avoiding the sin of the abuse of women is one of the things that you and I will be judged by on Yawm al-Qiyamah. O you who worship Allah. There is an ayah in the Quran, in fact it's right at the end of Surah Al-An'am that I just read from. وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَكُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ دَرَجَاتٍ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِي مَا آتَاكُمْ إِنَّ رَبُّكَ سَرِيعُ الْعِقَابِ وَإِنَّهُ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah says, He is the one who has made you the inheritors of the earth and raised some of you in ranks over others so that He may test you, try you in what He has given you. Surely your Lord is swift in retribution. He is also very forgiving and merciful. Amongst those who engage in scholarly exegesis, tafsir of the Quran, for instance, in the work called Tafsir Jalalain, Tafsir of the Two Jalals is called. This verse, wherein Allah says, He is the one who has made you the inheritors of the earth and raised some of you in ranks over others so that He may try you in what He has given you, is declared to mean, and Allah knows best, the generational passing of responsibility for governing the earth according to the laws of Allah. Obedience to Allah as a species, not as individuals, as mankind, is a responsibility that rests with each generation of the believers. And furthermore, as mankind as a species continues to exist, man grows and develops just as individual people grow and develop, just as communities grow and develop. And we, in this day and time, we are witnessing, I believe, and Allah knows best, the entering of mankind into another stage of growth and development. You see, when people, communities of people, societies of people, reach a milestone in their development, they leave behind certain attitudes, certain behaviors that which was acceptable in the past is no longer acceptable. And when humanity embraces the inspiration of Allah, the encouragement of Allah, the nudging of Allah for people to become better people, for people to become higher people, for people to become more civilized. When mankind heeds and embraces that nudge from Allah, then mankind advances. Let me give you an example. Judging people and treating people according to their race or their skin color or their ethnicity has never been okay, has never been right. And indeed, we find people still engaging in racial and ethnic bigotry. People still clinging to the right, as they see it, to exercise ethnic and racial bigotry, but it's not okay anymore. The things that people got away with in the past, the attitudes, the behaviors, the things they would say out their mouth in America not too long ago, can't do that anymore. Because if you do, then the wrath of civilizational advancement will come down on you, will censor you, will put you in a social or political exile, and we know that. Because that leap forward occurred roughly about 50, 60 years ago. Well, the society is not finished advancing. And I believe, and Allah knows best, that we are now witnessing, experiencing the advancement of the society, or call to the society to advance when it comes to the treatment of women. And when I say the treatment of women, I'm talking beyond what started happening a few decades ago. Inequality to women and that sort of thing. I'm talking about what we are now witnessing with the outing of the behavior of the abuse of women, sexual abuse of women, denying women equal treatment. I read the ayah. Allah says, to all are degrees according, or by degrees, to all are the rewards for what they do. We just completed the first long year of the presidency of Donald Trump. The 8 years previous to that, Barack Obama was the president. When Barack Obama was sworn in as the President of the United States 9 years ago, the first piece of legislation that he signed, I was taught by the members of the MIB Sisterhood, was a law called the Lilly Ledbetter Act. First piece of legislation he signed. The Lilly Ledbetter Act was designed to provide women with equal pay for equal work. That if a man and a woman do the same work, then the woman should be paid just as much as the man is. Obama's first piece of legislation. Now here we are 9 years later, and women are still not being paid equally for their work. We are living in the time of what's being called the quote-unquote Me Too movement, wherein women who have been sexually harassed and sexually abused are not being quiet about it anymore. They're speaking out against the treatment that they have received. You know, it's an amazing thing, those of you who follow these sort of things. There was an incident, you remember the incident with the guy Harvey Weinstein? That went public, and a handful of women went online and created this petition that said, if you have been sexually abused, tweet here or declare Me Too. And almost overnight it jumped to 1 million hits. 1 million. And it's been building ever since. And this is, I say to you again, a stage in the development of mankind. Because the treatment of women by men that men got away with yesterday, that men believed was okay yesterday, that time has passed. And it's nothing more than a stage in the advancement of mankind, so that mankind might be better, so that mankind might raise to a higher level. And the thing that you and I have to understand as men who are believers is that the advancement that mankind is being called to here and now is nothing more than the level that Allah intended for us to be on in the first place. Allah, glorified and exalted be He, the creator of man and woman, has commanded man, exhorted man to the kind and respectful treatment of women. And it is Allah who has declared on the tongues of His prophets. It is Allah who has declared on the tongues of His prophets, peace be upon them, the sin of the abuse of women. The Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said in the Sahih Hadith, he said, verily, the most complete of believers in Iman, he said, in faith, are those with the best character and who are most kind to aklihi, to their families, meaning to their wives and their children. Our practice of Islam is measured by a standard. The standard is set by Allah and His Messenger. And when we want to examine, as each of us should examine on a daily basis, on a regular basis, the quality of our Islamic practice. I'm not talking about whether you're Muslim or not. I know you're Muslim. We know we Muslims. But what is the quality of your Islamic practice? When you compare your character as a Muslim, your behavior as a Muslim, your attitude as a Muslim, your lifestyle as a Muslim, brothers and sisters too. How does it measure up in relation to the standard? That's the question. Because it is that which we will be judged by on the day of judging. And when I say that, I don't just mean it rhetorically or, just talking about the community. I'm talking to each and every one of us. Because when you are in the privacy of your home, even if it's just you and your spouse, you are never alone. You are never alone. It's you, your spouse, and Allah's angels. And whether you perceive it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether you believe it or not, everything that you say to that woman, or women if you got more than one wife, everything that you say to her, your attitude toward her, your treatment of her is being recorded and will one day be played back for you, even though you might have forgotten, or even though you might have your excuses, or even though you might be viewing the situation with logic provided by shaitan. You know there is such a thing. They call it satanic logic. Man, in his ignorance, views his logic as being supreme, but what is it that informs your logic? And there is a logic that is conveyed by the whisper of shaitan, and it's called satanic logic, wherein your higher mind is telling you, oh man, you know that ain't right. But the shaitan is telling you, no, but there's a reason for that. There's an excuse for that. Or it is right. Satanic logic. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides you and I with a logic inspired by Him, revealed by Him, and affirmed by His messenger. O you who worship Allah. The reason why I chose this particular subject for today is part of a citywide initiative. It's called the Weekend of Faith Against Domestic Violence. That's this weekend here. Today is the first day. And those of us who are religious leaders in the church and the synagogue and the mosque and the temple, we have been asked and encouraged to speak out about the reality of domestic violence in the society in which we live, in this city, and in our congregations. And actually, that's something that I've been doing for a long time. on record from this member and, in public as, giving those type of sermons and providing those type of services and that type of thing. So when I received the request, it was really nothing new. But when I looked at the request, I saw it differently than I've seen it in the past. In the past, when I was moved and obligated to speak out against domestic violence, when I've had to intervene. I'm here at the mosque and I get an emergency phone call and I literally have to rush out and rush to someone's home and pull a brother off his wife. Or I've had to dispatch some brothers from the security, from the sutra to go to a home for an intervention. Better us than the police. I have tended to look at that problem in isolation. And what I mean by that is that this time, when I looked at the, request, I started thinking about the Me Too movement. I started thinking about the unequal treatment of women as far as, making their hard-earned money. I started thinking about all of these evil behaviors. And I said to myself, the sin is not only so-called domestic violence, men physically and mentally and psychologically and emotionally and spiritually abusing women. But the sin is in abuse of women on all levels, in all different ways. Listen, my eldest offspring is my daughter. I have 6 grandchildren. And 4 out of 6 of them are female. And so when I turn on the news and I see all of these almost daily stories about women being abused, the first place my mind goes to now is, man, that's somebody's daughter. Just like I got a daughter. Or that's somebody's grandmother, or that's somebody's sister, or somebody's mother. Every time you hear of one of those situations, that applies. And the abuse, 99% of the time, is being committed by a man against a woman. I looked at the information and said, wow, here in New York City, a few years ago, they set up a domestic violence hotline. They just talk about violence in the home. They set up a hotline, told women, call in, Right now, 230 calls a day come in. 230 calls a day in a city like New York, documenting that type of abuse. And like last year, 37 homicides involving intimate partners, which was 59% of all family-related homicides in New York. People killing their spouse. And this is a problem that no community is exempt from. It's a problem that exists in the Muslim community just like it exists in the Christian community. It's a problem that exists in the Christian community just like it exists in the Jewish community. Listen, a week or two ago, I was meeting with a group of our sisters, Muslim women. And I asked them, what do y'all think about all this stuff that's going on? You know, what's your opinion about, you know, the Me Too movement and all of this other thing? And they opened up to me and began to talk to me, telling me how many of them, our Muslim sisters, were working on professional jobs and came to find out that they were being underpaid in relation to somebody else, male. They began to tell me how growing up they had, without going into any graphic detail, but that, you know, sexual harassment or sexual assault, sexual abuse was not unusual for them or a lot of other girls or women that they knew. Right now, the scandals in the religious community, if they're in the Christian community, Catholic Church, so on and so on, and those scandals are all over the newspapers. Every now and then, scandal breaks out in the Jewish community, and because they get out publicly so rare, they're all over the newspaper, you know, all headline news. Scandals in the Muslim community have not become headline news yet. But do not think for a moment that they don't exist. There's stuff going on right now. People being arrested for abuse of women, respected figures, younger and older. Most of you probably don't know or don't remember when a little Muslim girl was sexually abused in one of the $1 million masjids here in the city. Forgot about that one. Not too far from here. Little girl going to the masjid for weekend school who gets assaulted in the masjid by a guy working in there who knew her and knew her family. I read it. I remember because I saw it early in the morning, newspaper on a Jummah morning. So after Jummah, I said, man, I better go see the Imam here at that masjid, man, because he don't understand where he is. That's what I said to myself. I said, man, he don't. So I went to the masjid, sat the Imam down, and told him, yo, bro, you better set up some security in this masjid, man. You think just because you got $1 million masjid and, you know, you getting architectural awards and people got your picture, you know, up in the media talking about how great you are. I told him, you think that makes you immune to what's going on in the city? You go there now, they have security there now. Years ago, and that was like a, you know, immigrant masjid. Years ago, Same thing happened. Same thing happened in a masjid frequented by African Americans in the Bronx. Child gets molested in the masjid. Brothers found out about it and saved the criminal justice system some time and money by dispatching the situation without hesitation. Imam and everybody else got arrested. Most people don't know it happened again after that. That time they just dispatched it and left the situation. Mystery unsolved. So I cite these examples because whether you know it or not, I am a reality-based leader. I'm not standing up here talking about things just to be talking. It's part of my responsibility to you to guide you and admonish you by the Quran and Sunnah in every aspect of our human life. And that includes how we treat our women. That includes how we regard them. Some men are products of a home environment or a community environment or a societal environment in which women are treated with very little regard. All the stuff, all the madness you see going on in the White House now, you know what I watch with fascination about the current White House? All of the sicknesses of American society are constantly pouring from out of the White House on a daily basis. The racism and bigotry in the society coming from out of the White House, pouring right from out of the lips of the president. Sexual abuse, sexual violence, stuff they used to cover up in the past, they can't cover it up anymore. Pouring from out of the White House. All the nepotism and skullduggery later for the American people, let me get my money now, all of that kind of stuff pouring from out of the White House on a daily basis. Why? Because this is a time for the unveiling of truth. And nobody is going to be able to hold it back, man. And remember that when you see the current president, remember that when you see him go down in flames. Because he's going down. And you know what? It won't be anybody's fault but his. The things that you see happening now, I mean, activists couldn't come up with this stuff, man. Allah is just pressing the button and things are just moving so fast that these people are doing harm to themselves, man. And really can't blame anyone but themselves. This latest situation. Guy beating up his wife and all that kind of stuff, giving the girl black eye and pictures. And so as soon as now it comes out, a year later, they say, wait a minute, man, did y'all know this before you hired the dude? We didn't know it. No, but didn't his wife tell you, his ex-wife tell you when you interviewed her, before you gave him the job, that this is the case and here's the evidence and, yeah. And didn't she say you don't have to take her word for it? Go talk to this person or that person? Yeah. So how come you didn't know? And furthermore, who's responsible for hiring this guy, man? And who else? It ain't going to be that one individual that's going down, man. Remember that. So may Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala enlighten us, man. Don't, as the young people say, don't get it twisted. And these Jahiliyyah, you know that phrase, the Jahiliyyah, the days of ignorance amongst the Arabs before Islam came to them. And one of the characteristics of their Jahiliyyah society was this misogyny, hatred of women, man. Burying little girls, newborn little girls alive, and you know what I mean, all that abuse of women. Why do you think Allah addressed it in the Quran? Why do you think the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, you know, the best of you are those who are best in the treatment of their wives? Why do you think that is? Because it existed as a problem. And it exists now in spite of what Allah and His Messenger have said. Every Imam knows this. I was in a meeting just a couple of months ago. Imams from different parts of the country, we're sitting around talking. Yeah, man, so how do you handle that when it comes up? Right? One Imam said, man, it comes up, sister come to see me. He said, first thing I do is call her husband. And I try to give him the nasiha. If he don't listen, I call the police. That's what one Imam said. When another Imam said, you know, when this stuff come up, I get both of them in front of me. You know what I mean? And if it's true, and it's almost always true, I admonish the brother. I tell him, listen, whatever you do to her from now on, we're going to do to you. And if he get out of line again, I send a squad of brothers to give him equal treatment. These are things other Imams are saying. We're sitting there talking. And what about counseling? And what about this? And what about that? What role do intoxicants play in that? Are you a Muslim family and you got a woman, you got a husband that gets high? And every time he gets high, every time he becomes intoxicated, he goes upside your head. I'm telling you, these are real situations. And you Muslims who float around without any rootedness in a community, male and female, you're a man, you don't belong anywhere. You ask them, what Jamaat you belong to? Every Jamaat. What masjid you attend? Every masjid. Where you pay zakah? Pay zakah everywhere. You know, you get those kind of responses. Where do you go to for help when you need help? I come here. Oh, you're not a universal member anymore. You need some help. You become a particular member. Sister, where do you belong? I belong everywhere. I don't have no imam. Then your protection is compromised. And you'd be surprised how many women are in that vulnerable situation. Oh, you worship Allah. Heed the signs of the time. And remember the words of Allah, who has told us that everybody's going to be judged by what they do. And remember the admonishment of the Prophet ﷺ, who said that the best of us are those who are best in our treatment of our wives. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وبعد فقال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم في السورة أحزاب إن المسلمين ومسلمات ومؤمنين ومؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما وصدق الله العظيم. اللهم اغفر لنا مسلمين ومسلمات ومؤمنين ومؤمنات ومحسنين ومحسنات وبعد. For Allah, glory be to Him, has said in the Quran, 35th ayah, verse 33rd surah of the Quran, Surah Al-Ahzab, the Confederates. Surely, the Muslim men and the Muslim women, the believing men and the believing women, the devout men and the devout women, the truthful men and the truthful women, the patient men and the patient women. It means patient, it means enduring men and enduring women. The humble men and humble women, the charitable men and the charitable women, the fasting men and the fasting women, the men who guard their chastity and the women who guard their chastity, and the men who remember Allah much and the women who remember Allah much. For all of them, Allah has prepared forgiveness and a great reward. O you who believe, let me conclude by reminding us of this particular verse from the Quran. And it is the one in which Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, glorified and exalted be He, declares the spiritual equality of men and women. Righteousness is not male or female. Piety is not male or female. And the duties of worship are not male or female. There are righteous men and righteous women, unrighteous men and unrighteous women, and that's just how Allah has created the universe. And you and I are part of the universe. And whoever engages